It was a quiet evening at the dinner table. The kind of evening that felt almost too perfect, like everything was falling into place, even though you knew life had a funny way of pulling the rug out from under you when you least expected it. The food was warm and comforting, the kind of meal that you'd make on a lazy Saturday night. The scent of freshly cooked pasta and roasted vegetables filled the house, a smell I'd grown used to over the years. Cozy, familiar, like something that belonged to us. I sat there, trying to take it all in. The clinking of plates, the soft murmur of conversation between Emily, my wife, and her younger sister Claire, who was visiting from out of town. For a moment, everything seemed normal, calm even. I felt a small sense of peace, the kind that had been fleeting in recent months. There was a sense of security, a feeling that, despite everything, maybe we could still make this work. But then she said it. It was like a punch in the gut, but it didn't come with the dramatic buildup of an argument. It didn't come with tears or raised voices. It was casual, almost like she was talking about the weather, something mundane, something you didn't expect to carry the weight of a relationship on its shoulders. "He doesn't deserve intimacy with me," Emily said, her voice light, matter-of-fact, as if she were talking about a simple inconvenience, like a missing sock or a spilled drink. She didn't even look at me when she said it, as if it were just another thought to be shared with Claire over dinner. For a moment, everything stopped. The noise around me faded. I could hear my pulse thundering in my ears, my hands freezing around my fork. I wanted to speak, to ask her what she meant, to demand an explanation, but I couldn't. I just sat there, frozen, unable to believe what I had just heard. How could she say that? How could she be so cold? We had been together for 8 years. 8 years of shared memories, late-night talks, shared dreams of the future, and love that I thought was as solid as the ground beneath us. And yet, in that one careless sentence, everything came crashing down. My stomach twisted into a knot, the weight of her words settling over me like a heavy blanket. There was no apology in her voice, no remorse. She said it so casually, so easily, as if this was just another argument we could get over in a few hours. But this wasn't just another argument. This was something different. Like, this was betrayal. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't bring myself to even glance in her direction. I just stared down at my plate, my thoughts spinning. I had no idea what to say. I wanted to shout, to demand answers, to ask why would she say something like that? But I was paralyzed, caught in the shock of it all. And then, as if the words from Emily weren't enough, her sister, Claire, her sister, chimed in. "So, I'll replace you just like that." Like it was a joke. It felt like a knife slicing through the air. I could barely comprehend what I was hearing. I looked up, shocked, meeting Claire's gaze across the table. She was smiling. Smiling. A look of smug satisfaction painted across her face. I couldn't breathe. The blood rushed to my head. My vision blurred as if the world around me was spinning. I had always thought of Claire as part of the family. Someone who I could trust. Someone I could rely on when things got tough. But in that moment, all I saw was a stranger. I had never been so blindsided in my life. Emily's betrayal was one thing, but her sister's words, they hit harder than anything else. How could she? How could they both do this to me? To us? I sat there, unable to speak, unable to process what had just happened. The betrayal, the complete and utter lack of empathy in their words, was suffocating. I couldn't even look at Emily. I couldn't bear to see her face, knowing that she had just told her sister that I didn't deserve intimacy with her. And then Claire had the audacity to say that she would replace me, as if I were nothing, as if I were just a temporary fixture in their lives, easily swapped out for someone else. My hands shook, my stomach churned. My heart pounded so loudly that I thought it might burst. I wanted to shout at them, to demand answers, to tell them how much they had hurt me, how much they had betrayed me. But the words wouldn't come. The silence at the table stretched on, each second dragging into the next like an eternity. Emily and Claire continued their quiet conversation as if nothing had happened, as if their words had no weight. But I felt it. I felt it all. The pain, the betrayal, the complete disregard for everything we had built together. How could she be so cold? How could she dismiss me like this? How could her sister of all people join in? My wife, my best friend, the woman I had trusted with everything, was casually telling me that I didn't deserve intimacy. And her sister was more than happy to pile on. I couldn't sit there anymore. I couldn't stand being in that room, in that space that was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of safety and comfort. The table felt like a prison. I pushed my chair back, my hands trembling. I stood up, my legs unsteady as if I were walking through a fog. I couldn't look at them. I couldn't be there any longer. I walked out of the room without a word. The night after that dinner was one of the loneliest nights of my life. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. The woman I had loved for so long, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone else in the world, had just torn my heart apart without a second thought. And her sister, the one I had trusted like family, had casually added salt to the wound. I walked out of the house, not knowing where I was going, but knowing I couldn't stay. I didn't want to be in that house, in that marriage anymore. Everything felt wrong. Everything felt like a lie. I didn't want to be around Emily. I didn't want to hear her excuses, her apologies that didn't feel genuine. I didn't want to hear her explain why she had said what she had said. It didn't matter. She had already made her decision. She had already chosen. And so had her sister. I wandered the streets for hours, trying to clear my mind, but the pain, the betrayal, the weight of her words wouldn't leave me. Every corner I turned, every step I took, I felt like I was sinking deeper into a hole I couldn't escape. How did we get here? How did our relationship, and something I thought was unshakable, get reduced to nothing? I found myself pacing aimlessly through the quiet streets, not really going anywhere. It was like my mind was trapped in a loop, replaying everything that had led to this moment. The dinner table, the words Emily had said, Claire's cutting remark, the complete destruction of everything I thought we had. The betrayal wasn't just about the affair. It wasn't just about her telling me I didn't deserve intimacy. It was about how casually she dismissed everything we had built. Years of love, trust, shared experiences, and dreams for the future all thrown away in an instant. And the worst part, she seemed so nonchalant about it. Like, none of it mattered. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was suffocating. Every breath I took felt heavy, like I couldn't get enough air into my lungs. My mind raced with questions I couldn't answer. Had I been blind all along? Had she been planning this for months? Or was it a sudden decision? Was this my fault? What did I miss? What could I have done differently? The uncertainty gnawed at me. I couldn't get rid of the image of her face, the way she had looked when she said those words to Claire. She hadn't even looked at me, and Claire, her sister, the woman I had trusted as part of our family, had thrown her words into the mix, making it worse. I had to get away. I couldn't stand to be in the house, surrounded by the remnants of a life that felt like a lie. I needed space. I needed time to think. I went to a friend's house. I didn't even knock. I just stood there in the doorway, looking like I had seen a ghost. My friend Tom let me in without a word. He had seen me in bad shape before, but this was different. I was broken in a way I couldn't explain. Want to talk about it? He asked, offering me a seat. I shook my head. What could I say? How could I put into words the depth of the hurt, the feeling of betrayal that had engulfed me? There was no explanation. No reason that would make sense. It wasn't just the affair, the words. It was the complete disregard for what we had built together. The way Emily had seemed to dismiss me, to toss me aside as if I were nothing. Tom sat next to me, sensing the storm brewing in my mind. He didn't press me to talk. He just sat there quietly, letting me gather my thoughts. Eventually, I spoke. My voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. She said I don't deserve intimacy with her. Tom didn't flinch. He didn't look surprised, but he didn't know what to say either. I could see the sympathy in his eyes, but it didn't help. Nothing could help right now. I kept going, my words spilling out, desperate to make sense of it all. How could she say that? How could she just throw everything away like it meant nothing? He gave a small nod, but there was something in his eyes, a look of concern, of understanding. He knew this wasn't just about the affair. This was about trust. This was about feeling like you were worthless, like everything you had done, everything you had given, didn't matter. "You deserve better, man," he finally said. His words were simple, but they hit me harder than anything else. She didn't just hurt you, she disrespected you. And her sister just made it worse. I sat there in silence, Tom's words lingering in the air between us. No, I knew he was right. But even knowing that didn't make the pain go away. It didn't make it easier to accept. The more I thought about what happened at the dinner table, the more the sting of betrayal deepened. I couldn't escape it. Every corner of my mind was consumed by it. I wanted to move on, to heal, but it felt impossible. How could I move forward when everything that was supposed to be safe, everything I thought was real, had been ripped apart in an instant? Days passed, and I still couldn't find a way to shake the feeling that something was missing. Something was broken and it couldn't be fixed with just time. I tried to keep busy, to keep moving forward, but nothing seemed to matter. Every time I thought about her, about Emily, I felt a weight in my chest, like my heart was being squeezed by invisible hands. I wasn't sure what I was hoping for. Maybe I was hoping for an apology. Maybe I was hoping that the woman I loved would realize the weight of her actions and come back to me, begging for forgiveness. But deep down, I knew that wasn't going to happen. It couldn't happen. She had already made her choice. I wanted to scream at her, to demand she feel the same pain I was feeling, to make her understand how much she had hurt me. But there was no way to make her understand. There were no words for that. The only thing I had left was the truth that our marriage had been destroyed by her own hands. A week later, I found myself back at the house. I don't know why I went back. I wasn't sure if I was looking for answers or if I was just too tired to keep running from it all. So I needed to face this, needed to see her one last time to understand if there was any chance for us. When I walked in, Emily was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, though I knew she wasn't really watching it. The room was cold, just like the space between us. There was no warmth left. She glanced at me for a split second before looking away, as if seeing me was too much for her. "I can't keep doing this," I said, my voice barely audible. "We need to talk." She didn't respond right away. She just sat there, her shoulders hunched, her eyes fixed on the screen. The silence stretched on, and for a moment, I almost felt like I was talking to a ghost. "I don't know what to say anymore," she said quietly, still not looking at me. "I've already told you." "No," I interrupted, shaking my head. "You've told me lies." She finally turned to face me. Her eyes were red, her face pale. She had been crying. For a moment, I thought maybe this was the beginning of something. Maybe she was finally going to show me the remorse I needed to see. But then she spoke. "I was scared," she whispered. "I was scared of losing you, but I was also scared that I wasn't enough. I didn't feel enough. And when things started falling apart, I found comfort in someone else. I'm so sorry." The apology felt hollow, like an echo of what should have been a heartfelt confession. But her words weren't enough. How could they be? How could a simple apology undo everything? How could I look at her and forget the pain she had caused me? "I'm not enough," she continued. "I didn't want to admit it, but I needed someone to make me feel wanted again, and I made a huge mistake." I stood there, unable to speak, the weight of her words crushing me. My heart was torn between the love I once had for her and the anger I now felt toward her. Could I forgive her? Could I even trust her again? I wanted to speak, to tell her how much I was hurt, how much I felt betrayed by her actions. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I stood there, paralyzed, as the reality of it all slowly sank in. She was sorry. She was admitting her mistakes, but it felt like too little too late. The damage had been done, and I didn't know if I could ever heal from it. She was still looking at me, waiting for a response. Her eyes were filled with desperation, with the hope that I would somehow forgive her. But what did forgiveness even look like anymore? Could I forgive the woman who had broken my heart in the cruelest way possible? Could I forget the feeling of her sister's words cutting through me like a blade? I didn't know. I didn't know what to feel. My emotions were a swirling mess of confusion, pain, and anger. One moment, I wanted to reach out to her, to tell her I was willing to try again, but the next, I felt the weight of her betrayal pressing down on me, and I wanted to walk away. "You're asking for a chance," I finally said, my voice shaky. "But how do I give you a chance? After everything you've done? How do I just move on from this?" She looked at me with wide eyes, her voice cracking as she spoke. "I don't expect you to move on right away. I just want a chance. I want to prove that I can be the woman you need me to be. Please, just give me that chance." The desperation in her voice almost made me believe her. Almost. But then, the words she had said earlier echoed in my mind, and the image of her sister's smug smile resurfaced, like a flash of lightning in the darkness. How could I move past that? How could I move past the way they had torn me apart so casually? I didn't know. I didn't know if I could. "You're asking me to forgive you, to forget everything," I said, my voice rising with the frustration building inside me. "But I can't just forget this. I can't forget how you've made me feel. How you've made me feel like I wasn't enough. How could you do this to me, Emily? How could you do this to us?" She took a step forward, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch me. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I took a step back, the gesture causing a sharp ache in my chest. I didn't want her to touch me. I didn't want to feel her hand on my skin, knowing what she had done. "Do you even understand what you've done?" I asked, the anger now boiling inside me. "Do you understand that what you did isn't just about one mistake? It's about everything we've built together, everything we've shared, and you've just thrown it away like it meant nothing." She was silent for a moment, her eyes welling with tears. "I do understand, and I'm sorry. I'll never be able to take it back. But I'm asking you to let me try. I want to make things right. I know it'll take time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Her words hung in the air between us, heavy with the weight of her guilt. She wanted to make things right. She wanted to rebuild. But could we? Could we really rebuild after everything that had happened? I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that we could somehow fix what had been broken. But deep down, I knew that it wasn't going to be that simple. Trust doesn't come back easily. It doesn't heal overnight. And no matter how hard she tried to make things right, it would always be tainted by the memory of her betrayal. I couldn't shake the image of her sister's words. I couldn't forget how easily they had dismissed me, how easily they had crushed everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. And yet, Emily was still standing in front of me, asking for a chance. "I don't know if I can," I said, my voice low and defeated. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again. I don't know if I can ever love you the same way." Her face crumpled, and I could see the guilt in her eyes. But I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. I couldn't bring myself to tell her everything would be okay. I couldn't lie to myself like that. We stood there in silence for what felt like hours, the weight of our broken relationship between us. I didn't know what came next. I didn't know if there was a next for us. But I couldn't keep pretending that nothing had changed. Nothing would ever be the same again. The next few days were filled with uncertainty. Emily tried to reach out to talk to me, but I didn't know how to respond. I wasn't ready to forgive her, not yet. No, but I also wasn't ready to let go completely. There were moments when I wanted to take her in my arms and tell her everything would be okay, but then I remembered the hurt, the betrayal, and I pulled away. The silence in the house was deafening. Every day felt like a battle between my heart and my mind. My heart still loved her. I couldn't deny that. But my mind told me I couldn't trust her again. I couldn't go back to a place where I was constantly wondering if she was being honest with me, if she was being loyal. I couldn't live in that kind of uncertainty. I spent most of my time away from the house, walking around aimlessly, trying to clear my mind. But it was impossible. The thoughts of Emily, of the betrayal, of everything we had lost, kept circling around me like vultures. I couldn't escape it. I couldn't escape her. Then, one evening I came home to find her sitting at the kitchen table waiting for me. She had something in her hands, a letter. I didn't know what it was, but the way she was holding it made it seem important. "I wrote this for you," she said, her voice soft but filled with emotion. "I want you to understand how sorry I am. I want you to know that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." I didn't know what to expect. But when I sat down and read the letter, I felt a mix of emotions flood over me. Her words were heartfelt, raw, full of regret. She talked about her mistakes, about how she had been selfish, about how she had hurt me in ways she never thought possible. She said she didn't expect me to forgive her right away, but she wanted me to know that she was committed to making things right. For a moment, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that we could heal, that we could somehow come out of this stronger. But the reality was staring me in the face. Trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt with a letter. It wasn't something that could be fixed with apologies and promises. And yet, I was still torn. I read her letter again, slowly, letting her words sink in. Each sentence was filled with regret, each word carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken feelings. She talked about her insecurities, her fear of losing me, the loneliness she had felt, and how that had driven her to make choices she couldn't take back. The letter was heartfelt, and for a moment, I almost believed her. But that belief quickly dissipated. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that a letter, no matter how sincere, couldn't undo the damage she had caused. It couldn't heal the wounds she had inflicted on me, on us. The more I read her words, the more I felt the anger and pain rising inside me. She had written this letter, but where was she when it really mattered? Where was she when I needed her the most? Where was the love that we had built our entire relationship on? I put the letter down and looked at her. She was sitting there, her hands nervously twisting the edges of the napkin in front of her. Her eyes were pleading, desperate for some sign that I could forgive her, that I could find it within myself to move past the betrayal. But could I? Could I really forgive her? Could I ever look at her the same way again after what she had done? After everything she had said, everything I had witnessed? The way she had turned so cold, so distant, and then her sister's cruel words, "So I'll replace you," kept echoing in my mind. It was like a poison that seeped into my thoughts, tainting everything. "I don't know if I can," I said, my voice quiet but heavy. "I don't know if I can forgive you for this." She looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears. "I understand if you can't. But please, just give me a chance. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right if you'll let me." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that we could fix this, that we could somehow go back to the way things were. But the reality of it all hit me harder than anything else. We couldn't go back. We couldn't erase what had been said, what had been done. The trust between us had been broken, and no amount of promises could put it back together. I stood up, walking away from the table where we had once sat side by side as a family. The empty space between us felt wider than ever. "I need some time," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I can't keep doing this." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The look in her eyes said everything. I saw the fear, the regret, but also the understanding. She knew deep down that she had crossed a line, and now it was too late to fix it. The days that followed were filled with tension. Emily tried to reach out to me, but each time I pushed her away. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I needed space to process everything, to figure out what I wanted, what I needed. But the silence between us was deafening. Every moment felt like a battle when I wasn't sure I was winning. I tried to keep busy, to fill my time with distractions, but nothing worked. The emptiness, the hollow feeling in my chest, was too overwhelming. I couldn't escape it. It followed me everywhere. Every room I walked into, every corner of the house, reminded me of the woman I had once loved and the woman she had become. And then, one evening, when I was sitting alone in the living room, my phone rang. It was her. I stared at the screen for a long moment, my thumb hovering over the green button. I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't heard from her in days, and part of me wanted to ignore the call, to keep the distance between us. But another part of me, the part that still cared, the part that was still clinging to the hope that things could somehow be fixed, wanted to pick up, to hear her voice, and to hear what she had to say. I finally answered. "Hello?" My voice was rough, like I hadn't spoken to anyone in days. "Hi," Emily's voice came through, hesitant, strained. "Can we talk?" For a moment, I didn't know what to say. I had spent so much time avoiding this conversation, avoiding her. I wasn't ready to face her again, to let her back into my life. But there was a part of me that needed to understand what had happened. What had gone wrong? "What is it, Emily?" I asked, my voice tight. "What could you possibly have to say now?" "I don't know where to start," she said, her voice cracking. "But I need to talk to you. I need you to understand what I've been feeling. Please." Her words cut through me. She needed to explain? After everything, after what she had said, after the way she had treated me, she needed to explain? I didn't respond right away. I didn't know if I was ready to hear her side. I didn't know if I even wanted to listen anymore. But part of me deep down wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear if there was anything at all, that could make me believe in her again. "Okay," I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. "Fine, we can talk." We arranged to meet the next day. I don't know why I agreed. Maybe it was because a part of me wanted closure. Maybe it was because I still loved her, even after everything. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about her. This was about me too. This was about finding peace, about understanding whether I could ever forgive her, whether I could ever trust her again. The next day, we met at a small cafe in town. The atmosphere was quiet, almost too quiet. And the soft hum of background music did little to calm the tension between us. Emily sat across from me, her eyes avoiding mine at first. She was nervous. I could see that. Her hands were folded tightly on the table, her fingers trembling slightly. I didn't say anything. I just watched her, watched as she fidgeted, avoided eye contact, and shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She had been so confident the last time we were together, so sure of herself. But now, she looked like someone who had lost everything. Finally, she spoke. "I've been thinking about everything we've been through," she said, her voice soft. "And I realized that I've been running from my own fears. I've been so scared of losing you, scared that I wasn't enough, that I started looking for someone else to fill that emptiness inside me. And it was wrong. It was the worst thing I could have done, and I'm so sorry." I didn't say anything at first. I just sat there, processing her words. The truth was, I didn't know how to react. I didn't know if I could believe her. How could I? How could I believe the same woman who had shattered everything we had built? The same woman who had hurt me in ways I couldn't even put into words? "Do you think we can fix this?" I asked, my voice strained. "Do you think we can ever go back to what we had?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with sorrow and regret. "No, we can't go back. But we can rebuild. We can start fresh." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that things could be okay again. But could they? Could I ever trust her again? Could I ever look at her the same way, knowing what she had done? The silence stretched between us, and thick and heavy, as I thought about everything. The betrayal, the lies, the hurt. And then I realized something. I wasn't the only one who had hurt. She had hurt too. She had been afraid. She had been insecure. And maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to move forward, not back, but forward. I stared at her, my mind racing, trying to find the right words. The things she had said still echoed in my head like a twisted melody. "You don't deserve intimacy with me." Her voice still lingered in the air, a constant reminder of the betrayal. But it wasn't just the words. It was the casual, careless way she had said it, like it was something insignificant, something that didn't matter. I couldn't let it go. I couldn't move forward with her until I had answers, until I understood why she had said those words. Why? Not after everything we had shared, after everything I had done for her, she could so easily toss me aside, so easily dismiss me. My voice trembled as I finally spoke, the weight of everything pressing down on me. "Why did you say that? Why did you tell me I didn't deserve intimacy with you?" Her eyes darted away from mine, as if she couldn't bear the intensity of my gaze. Her fingers fidgeted with the edge of her napkin, twisting and tearing it in her hands, her movements shaky. She looked vulnerable, fragile, like she was being torn apart by the truth. But in that moment, I didn't care. I needed answers. I needed to know what was going through her mind when she said those words, when she so easily cast me aside. "I don't know," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know why I said it. I was angry. I was frustrated. And I didn't want to hurt you, but I did anyway." Anger surged through me at her words. "You didn't want to hurt me?" I repeated, almost incredulously. "How can you say that?" How can you say you didn't want to hurt me when you did? When you tore my heart out in front of your sister and made me feel like I was nothing?" Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't look away. I couldn't. "I wasn't thinking," she said, her voice breaking. "I was just so angry, so confused. I didn't know how to deal with everything I was feeling. And when I said that, I was just trying to protect myself. I didn't want to face what I was doing to you, to us. So I pushed you away. I thought if I could just make you hate me, maybe it would make it easier for me." I felt a pang of pain in my chest as I listened to her. But the anger was still there, bubbling just beneath the surface. "You thought if you pushed me away, it would make it easier?" I asked, my voice tight with frustration. "How could you think that? How could you think that destroying me would make anything easier?" "I don't know," she whispered, her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't think. I just did it. And now I regret it. I regret everything. I regret how I treated you, how I pushed you away. But I was scared. I was scared of losing you, scared of facing everything I had messed up. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. She was scared. Scared of losing me? Scared of facing the consequences of her actions? It didn't make it any easier to understand, but it gave me something I hadn't had before, a glimpse into her mind, into her fear. "Scared," I repeated, my voice shaking with disbelief. "Scared of what, Emily? Of us? Of our life together?" She nodded, her eyes pleading with me to understand. "I was scared of not being enough, of not being the woman you wanted, the woman you needed. And when I saw the distance between us, when I saw that you were pulling away, I panicked. I didn't know how to fix it, so I made it worse. For a moment, I didn't say anything. I just let her words sink in. She was scared. She had been so afraid of losing me that she had sabotaged everything we had. And part of me wanted to feel sympathy, to understand her fear. But the other part of Mithi part that had been hurt, the part that had been abandoned, was struggling to let it go. "You still could have talked to me," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "Yeah, you still could have come to me and told me how you were feeling, but instead, you chose to push me away. You chose to hurt me, Emily." She nodded again, her eyes welling with more tears. "I know. I made the wrong choice. And now I have to live with it. I've lost you, and I know that. But please, please let me try to make it right." I looked at her, my heart heavy with all the conflicting emotions swirling inside me. Part of me wanted to reach out to her, to tell her that I could forgive her, that we could fix this together. But another part of me, the part that had been broken, couldn't ignore what had happened. The pain was too fresh, too raw. I didn't know if I could trust her again. I didn't know if I could believe in the words she was saying now. "I don't know if I can," I said finally, my voice low. "I don't know if I can believe you anymore, Emily." Her face crumpled, the tears falling freely now. "I don't expect you to believe me right away. But I'm asking for a chance. Not for us to go back to the way we were, but for a chance to build something new. To rebuild what we had." The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating, as I thought about what she had said. Could we rebuild? Could I rebuild? Could we start fresh after everything that had happened? "I don't know," I said, my voice barely audible. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again, but I don't know if I can walk away either." She reached for my hand, her fingers trembling as she touched mine. I didn't pull away, but I didn't hold her hand either. I just let her touch me, feeling the weight of the moment, the weight of the decision hanging between us. "We can try," she whispered. "Please, let's try." I stood up, the weight of everything pressing down on me. I couldn't make a decision right then. I needed more time, more space, more healing. And I knew that, no matter what, things wouldn't be the same. But maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for us to rebuild. Not to go back to what we were, but to create something new, something stronger. I walked out of the cafe, leaving Emily sitting behind me, waiting for a future I wasn't sure I was ready to give her. The days after our conversation were filled with uncertainty. Emily was doing everything she could to show me that she was serious about making things right, but I couldn't shake the doubts. I couldn't shake the hurt. Every moment with her felt like walking on a tightrope. No one misstep and everything would come crashing down again. I tried to keep my distance, tried to keep myself from getting too close, too involved. But it was hard. The love I still had for her, despite everything, kept pulling me in. I couldn't deny the part of me that wanted to believe in her, that wanted to believe in us. But every time I looked at her, every time I remembered what had happened, the pain came flooding back. It wasn't just the affair. It was the way she had disregarded everything we had, the way she had thrown me away without a second thought. I wasn't sure what to do. The days that followed our conversation felt like I was walking through fog. Every step I took felt heavy, like the weight of everything was pressing down on me. The space between Emily and me seemed endless, and every time I reached out, it felt like I was being pushed back, like we were both clinging to something we couldn't quite touch anymore. I could see her trying to make things right, trying to show me that she was genuinely remorseful. But I wasn't sure if that was enough. She was doing everything she could to prove herself. She'd bring me coffee in the mornings, sit with me in the evenings, ask how my day was, try to rekindle the warmth we once shared. But it all felt forced. The intimacy was gone, the connection was gone. I didn't feel like we were a team anymore. I felt like I was just playing along, pretending to be in a relationship that no longer existed. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The betrayal had infected every part of our life. I could feel it in the way we sat across from each other at dinner, the way we barely touched, the way she seemed distant, even when she was sitting right next to me. There was a wall between us, an invisible wall, that neither of us knew how to break down. And even though she was trying, even though she kept apologizing, I wasn't sure if she could ever break through that wall. One evening, we sat on the couch together. It was quiet, too quiet. The air in the room felt thick, like it was about to explode. Emily was sitting next to me, her head resting against the back of the couch, but she wasn't looking at me. She was staring ahead, as if lost in thought. "I think we need to talk," I said, my voice hoarse, the weight of everything pressing down on me once more. She turned her head slowly, her eyes meeting mine. "About what?" "About us," I said, my heart racing in my chest. "About what happened. Sierra, about where we go from here." Her eyes flickered with something, maybe fear, maybe hope, but she didn't speak. She just looked at me, waiting for me to continue. "I don't know if I can do this," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. "I don't know if I can keep pretending like everything's fine when it's not." She sat up straighter, her eyes wide, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "What do you mean? What do you need?" "I need to know if we can fix this," I said, my voice cracking under the pressure. "I need to know if you really want this, if you want us." Her breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, she didn't say anything. Her gaze shifted to the floor, her fingers twitching nervously as she struggled to find the words. "I want to fix this," she said finally, her voice trembling. "I want you. I've always wanted you, but I messed up. I hurt you. And now I don't know if I can ever fix it." The pain in her voice was clear, and for a moment I thought I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with. But the truth hit me again. The truth that I couldn't ignore anymore. The truth that we couldn't go back to how we were. Not after everything. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again," I said, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "I don't know if I can ever feel the same way." "How do I get past what you said? How do I get past what you did?" She flinched as if I had struck her. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't speak. She just sat there, shaking her head slowly, as if she couldn't believe what I had just said, and I couldn't believe it either. But it was the truth. No matter how much I wanted to believe her, no matter how much I wanted to forgive her, I couldn't forget what she had done. I couldn't forget the way she had ripped my heart out and handed it to her sister without a second thought. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered, "but I did. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I felt a wave of emotion rise within me, anger, frustration, hurt, and a deep sense of loss. I wanted to hold her. I wanted to forgive her, but I couldn't. I couldn't just let go of what had happened. It wasn't that simple. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Emily," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again." Her face crumpled in front of me, and I saw the raw pain in her eyes. She was hurting. I could see that, but it wasn't just her hurt that mattered. It was mine, too. I had been the one who had been betrayed. I had been the one left behind, And no matter how much she apologized, no matter how much she tried to make it right, I couldn't forget the way she had treated me. The silence stretched on, thick and uncomfortable. It felt like the room was closing in on us, and I couldn't breathe. My thoughts raced. What was I supposed to do now? What was the right choice? Could I forgive her? Could I rebuild what we once had? I don't know what to do, I said finally, my voice breaking. I don't know if I can keep going like this. I don't know if I can stay in this relationship, knowing what's happened. Emily's eyes filled with tears, and she reached out for my hand, her fingers trembling as she touched mine. I didn't pull away, but I didn't hold her hand either. I just let her touch me, now feeling the weight of everything between us. She was trying. I could see that. But was it enough? Was she enough? Could we rebuild from this? The next few days were a blur. Emily tried harder than ever to show me that she was sorry, that she was committed to making things right. But I wasn't sure I could ever believe her. I wasn't sure I could trust her again. The pain was too raw, the betrayal too deep. I didn't know if I could ever look at her and feel the same love I had once felt. I spent my days going through the motions, pretending everything was fine, pretending that I wasn't still hurting. But it wasn't fine. I wasn't fine. And I couldn't keep pretending. One night, I went to bed early, unable to sleep, tossing and turning, thoughts swirling in my head. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up, unable to escape the hurt that consumed me. I could hear Emily moving around in the kitchen, the clink of dishes, the sound of water running, but the house felt empty. The silence between us had never felt louder. I sat up in bed, staring out the window at the moonlight, trying to clear my head. My thoughts kept coming back to the same thing. Could we fix this? Could we fix me? Could I ever forgive her? Could I ever forgive myself for letting it get this far? And then, as if on cue, Emily came into the room. She was standing in the doorway, looking at me, her eyes filled with uncertainty. I know you're still hurting, she said, her voice barely a whisper. And I know it's going to take time. But please, don't give up on us. Don't give up on me. The words hung in the air, and for a moment I thought I might cry. But I wanted to hold her, to tell her I loved her, to believe that we could still make it work. But there was still so much pain, so much betrayal. I'm not sure if I can, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I don't know if I can keep living in this limbo, in this place where I don't know who you are anymore. She stepped forward, sitting beside me on the bed, her hand reaching out to touch mine. But it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like it once had, and I wasn't sure it ever would again. I'll wait for you, she said softly. I'll wait as long as it takes. But I need you to know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes to make this right. I'm not giving up on us. I looked at her, the pain in my chest making it hard to breathe. Could I give her that chance? Could I trust her again? No, could we rebuild what we once had? I didn't have the answer yet, but I knew one thing. It wasn't going to be easy, and the road ahead would be long. If you've ever been through a betrayal like this, if you've ever had to decide whether to forgive or walk away, I want to hear you. How did you handle it? Did you rebuild, or did you walk away for good?